Welcome to episode 5 of If They Won't Listen. What's going on, guys?
Uh, you know, Same old, waking up basically at my version of 4 in the morning, otherwise known as 8 a.m. for normal human beings.
I don't want to hear it, man. Friday, I got to sleep in on Friday. Okay, you know what time I got up to go get ready to go to work? 4:30. So,
Oh,
love
damn.
you, man. I don't want to fucking hear it. You suck. Today was awesome. I slept until like 5:30. Yesterday was 6:30.
No,
I
for
couldn't
sure.
do what you do to her.
Some days neither can I. Fake it
I
till you
did.
make it.
I did what he did, and it was the worst thing in my life.
No, I can't say because I do love my job. I really
No,
do.
I loved it too, but
People are stupid.
it's the ratio of death to fiscal benefit that irritates me. I am not even making 40K a year there, and I'm almost dying every day, and it ugh, just and ugh. I worked a 30-hour shift, bro. To my knowledge, that was the record. But when I was quote unquote left, I wasn't fired. Didn't quit, but
It
couldn't
should
stay.
be the record. That's absolutely insane.
Well, and yeah, but I mean, it was a matter of other people didn't want to work. I wanted as much money as possible for my daughter, and I was willing to punish my body for it. I almost died, dude. Driving home that night, I was eyes closed, driving in between lanes, like I should be dead right now. Um, and pulling over and sleeping on the side of the road doesn't help when you're 30 hours into a lack of consciousness. No, um, and not 30 easy hours. So like I left my home at whatever it was, fucking 4 a.m. on Thursday. Got to the job in Burlington for 7 with my partner. Worked all the way until like 6 p.m. And then the bosses were like, "Hey, we got another emergency job. Are you willing to do it?" And I immediately look at my partner and go, "You want to make some money, bro?" And we're already in a company truck, like rearing to go, ready, fully dressed, and we were just about to finish job 1 that started 12 hours ago. I started 10 hours ago plus the drive time to get there. But nonetheless, so I finished the first job and I went to the second job and I worked literally all night until 8 a.m. Dropped my partner off by 9 and I got home at 10. And so I left at 4 a.m. Thursday and I got home at 10 a.m. Friday. And I wasn't off the clock for a minute. I was paid to drive there, I was paid to drive back, and I'm fucking counting all of it. So,
Excuse me while I mess around with my lights, trying to get
you can do
a good
whatever you
nice
want.
like dark a nice dark yellow, so it's not showing all of my facial flaws.
I, all my flaws are out. I'm like 4 different types of Indian. Um, I have a candlelight on my PC right now. It's like click, 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 click. It's just I like it. It's quaint. But you wanna you
Quaint.
wanna you wanna you wanna impress me, Dante? Make your bed, bro. Like,
I was gonna say something about that.
Man, look, the last thing on my mind, all right, when I've slept for like 3 hours, is, hey, I gotta get my bed made. I don't.
there's a really courageous military speaker.
No,
Um,
I don't tell me about the
it's that
man. That's
Facebook
like you gotta.
video.
I
You
I
gotta
already
make your
know
bed. I've
about
watched that
that
video like
guy.
4 times. It warms my heart.
I know about the guy. All right.
It's really a true thing, and especially in the sense of like neural pathways and cognitive coalescence and upper levels of science that I could rip your frickin' face off talking about. All of them require belief. You can tell me I believe, and frankly, it doesn't matter to me. Like, I don't care if you really believe or don't. But if you guys want to change something in your own brain permanently, you have to believe it. And believing something that isn't true is allowed as well. Sometimes the easiest way to get somewhere is to, fake it until you make it. I'm not gonna lie to you, I did that with rap. When I used to suck and I was 14, I just researched underground rap until my face tore off. And you know what I mean? If I copied a quip of a line that was similar. It was so fucking underground that there was, there was no attachment to it, and I'm building off someone else's process, and that's wrong. But I didn't know how to build a process, so I'm not gonna be like, oh, my conscience hurts. No, I'm a really good musician now, and I can create it all myself. But for anyone to act like they become a master at something without stepping on stones from people before them is a joke. Like, you had to learn to become a master. You learned from people who were already masters, and so in
Well, who is it? Who was it who said that? Uh, it was something along the lines of like, uh, good artists copy and great artists steal.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like an apt metaphor. I mean, I don't know. I'm not advocating for saying if you get into a new hobby you suck at, lying and disbelieving your way through it and placebo believing your way through it is the way to go. I'm just saying that, let's say you've really been struggling to satisfy yourself with working out. That's a real example for me. Like, my body's not in any shape that I need to work out at all. Like, I'm strong enough for my quality of life, and that's what I care about. I don't care that I'm lanky and I could have less, or more definition. My quality of life is good, and but I do want to work out. It makes me feel better. My back's not sore, and I struggle to do it. I just struggle to do it. Why? What's the motivation to do it? I'm gonna die sore if I get hit by a bus in an hour, and so
You can't get caught up in that thinking pattern.
well,
That is such
no,
a.
that's a real thinking pattern. Like, I don't have problems with thought. I don't anxiety doesn't exist for me. In other words, I get anxious, but anxiety is a lack of controlling thought patterns. Like, the pilot of a plane is never anxious because he's trained in every pair of anxious situation to avoid the anxiety. You don't get out of anxiety by saying you want to. You get out of it by finding what caused it and eradicating that. You know what I mean? Like,
Isn't
this
that
is
a Pokemon? Isn't there a Pokemon called Raticate? I've been playing a
Eradicate.
lot of
Yes,
Pokemon.
actually.
I've been playing a lot of Pokemon, and I'm sorry for the complete, just like tangential sweep that I just made
not,
from
Quick, take that right there.
from what
We're gonna
from
go over this place instead.
what you're talking about to my goddamn Pokemon obsession lately.
So don't apologize, brother. This is what we're doing. This is part of what we do on here. We go off on tangents.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, my favorite podcast that I watch, they had a guest on who's the #1 streamer on Tarkov, at Landmark, and the dude is insane. He set $1 million goal 12 months ago, or just about 12 months ago, maybe a little over that or under that, to make $1 million. All his profits went to charity. He wants to make $1 million, and he made $1 million on donations playing Tarkov in the last 12 months. $1 million of donations. It all went to charity. But I'm just saying, if you want to build a network of advertising for people, that's how you fucking do it. You do it all for charity. And I'm not sitting here like he's the patron saint of anything. He plays an FPS game and kills people every day. It's not a light and fluffy thing. But holy goddamn shit. Like, it, the people in the chat, he was live streaming the podcast he was a guest on, and the people in the chat watching his Twitch stream while he was in the podcast were losing it. They were like, what did they do on this show? Did they just talk about bullshit for 4 hours? Yeah. I've been a listener for 10 years, and they'll either talk, about 1,000 subjects or 7, and they don't have segments. They have nothing. They just they have
Shout out PKA.
Yeah, dude, Painkiller already. Dopest podcast.
It just occurred to me that you were fucking with Dante about his bed. You got a basket of laundry in the background.
You win. That is that.
I mean, I would
That
go as far as to say that my room is a nice, comfortable space, and if anything, having those blankets bunched up like that may be better for acoustics.
you could make that argument. I could also make the argument that there's a disparaging house difference between me and Dante. I lived in a place like which I can only presume Dante's is. Um, your bedroom looks like it has more square footage than my apartment. You know, you
Yeah,
need
listen, man, I get it. I lived when I was in New York, not my last place, but my second to last apartment in Manhattan. Um, just for anybody that's curious, I was living in Washington Heights, 179th and St. Nicholas was where this apartment was. And basically, my bedroom was not big enough to fit my full-size bed and a desk that was about the length probably of what this camera is picking up.
Mm-hmm.
It couldn't fit both.
You
So
should see my apartment downstairs. This one's huge compared to what we were just living in. Ricky's been in there. You know, we spent long hours sitting at that table playing cards on the clock.
the thing with this room that I was in was it was literally a closet, right?
Harry Potter
Like
closet.
not a joke. Like that's what it originally was a closet, and I was paying $950 a month for that.
Yeah.
And I had you know 2 roommates, which ended up being 4 roommates because I had shitty roommates that wanted to bring in their fiancés, and that was a whole big mess.
I lived in a closet once. When I dipped from my dad due to just terrible bullshit between me and him, I ended up in Roxbury in Boston, and it's the same sort of like, you know, Chinese stacking people left and right type apartments and places, and
Right.
so mad people, mad everywhere. And I was homeless, and I stayed with my buddy. Um, and I slept in his closet, and his mom was wicked racist. Like would have beat me to death with the pan if she had saw
I'm
a
glad
white
you said
boy
that
in her
before I took a
apartment.
sip of this.
Wicked racist. Like, well, she would have killed me if she found me. And he told me that. He's like, "Don't let mom see you." I'm like, "Where's pops?" And he's like, "Bro, okay." You know, you can get his ethnicity. Stereotypes prevail. Um,
Jeez.
but holy shit, I lived in his closet, and I slept. No, you opened the door to his closet fast, and you shut it fast, and then kicked things back in it because it was 5 feet of Nike shoes and Jordans, and so I just slept on a 4 or 5 foot long. No, it must have been 7 or 8 feet because I fully laid down and I struggled to at a I don't know 33-degree angle, and slept on shoes, and he would knock on the door when mom's wasn't around. I would come out, we'd kick it. But yeah, and
Damn.
you sat on the floor. You didn't sit in chairs because if you live on the second floor, you sit in a chair near the window. A bullet can Pythagorean theorem its way into your fucking brain, and so the ceiling had bullet hole shells caps on it, and yeah, so you just sat on the floor. That was the
That's
prerogative.
that sounds worse than Bed-Stuy. So anybody out there, if you're living in Bed-Stuy, get out. Please get out. Like, we care about you, all right?
That's the
You don't
thing,
want
though,
to be
is
there.
you can't just tell someone to abandon their family. You know, like it was easy for me to pack a
No, I mean,
backpack.
if you were like me and if you were just like, you know, a kid that was like, oh, I'll live in Bed-Stuy because it's cheap and I want to live in New York. Get out because you're gonna get shot.
No, but like that's what I'm saying. Though, it's like that every neighborhood like that, and there's a lot of them. Not as many as there isn't, but there's a lot of them. um, the people living there don't have options to leave. That's why they don't leave. You know, they're oppressed in their neighborhood, and they're aware the other neighborhoods aren't oppressed, but you almost get tainted with a stigma when you live in a certain place. There's a reason why when you go to certain places, to some degree, the people look a certain way. Like, that's truly like geographical, a human adaptation. Like, you know what I mean? We live in a cold ass climate. You come up here, I could make the guess that in Vermont you would see way more big, burly, fucking bearded men than you ever would in fucking Texas or Alabama. And now maybe that's a long shot, including Texas, because cowboys have beards. And maybe I'm talking out my ass, but I'm just saying that since I moved to Texas, I feel like, yeah, I lived in Texas, but I live in Vermont. Since I moved here, holy shit, a lot of men with beards, like everyone. You know what I mean? The entire maintenance crew has a beard.
Yeah.
At my job.
Well, and it goes like I see it every day, because I don't really live in the best part of town. People in this part of town, they dress differently, they act differently, talk differently than the people on the other side of Main Street.
No, I'm with you. When Bree ever told me that where you lived was the bad part of town, I lost it. I was like, I'm so comfy here, and this is nice.
Yeah,
I
well,
like it.
It's the gut, but it's not bad. I say it's
it's
the bad part of town. It's the bad part of town for here, but
no,
Vermont's the bad part of
I
town,
think
and New
that's
York's the bad part of
relative.
town are two totally different animals.
it's very relative, and like that's the most pure thing about it is like I lived in a bad-ish neighborhood to what I was told. Maybe they were bullshitting on me, but they said it with legitimacy and actuality. But they were like, "Yo, this is a pretty bad neighborhood in Texas." I looked around and I was like, "Motherfucker, what? This is a bad neighborhood? Really? Okay, I dig it. Let's go see the good neighborhoods." And I've never minded anywhere I've lived, but I'm also a person who has lived. Like some people will be like, oh, I need this. Y'all's list for need and my list for need are diametric opposites. Like I need nothing. You know what I mean? I'm a cold-hearted, manipulative brain. Organizing, categorically thinking person who's insane. Like, I've got 4 alter egos set up for that I can use to roll through life simply if my daughter dies.
Narcissist.
Yeah, probably.
What you mean to say?
I'm a
It's
few.
multiple personality disorder from the sounds of it.
The line
I think that's probably going a little far.
No, it's not. It's not. The line between my version of cognitive science and schizophrenia is one and the same. If you were to describe what I do to a psychotherapist, they would tell you I have some serious detriments to my thinking pattern. And I would argue I think exactly how I choose to. As soon as I don't try to lift my foot up and my foot doesn't lift up, okay, then I'm not good. But everything I try to do, I can do. And everything that I want to learn, I put the time in and learned it. I did years of meditating to build a mind map. All of us using your interior calcarine, your hippocampus, and your interior calcarine, hippocampus, and occipital lobes. Those are the 3 parts that work in unison to build you your third eye in your head. When you can close your eyes and envision something, I can do that eyes open now. Like, I can, like, we're working on something and be like, why the fuck won't this work? All right, clockwise is this way, backwards this way. Now the bolts are aimed like this, so what fucking way? And I'll look at that over my eyes at what I'm doing, but I can't see what I'm doing. And, like, that's just after 6 or... Freaking cat. That's just after 6 or 7 years of solidly focusing on thought. Now, 90% of my areas of thought, YouTube, Google, Backpage, all the sciences, all the scientists that I focus on are on page 300 of Google. If you search mental upgrading, click. You're gonna get video game stats. You're not gonna get, metacognitive coalescent science, nor are you gonna get personality channeling is what I'm going to call it. I don't know the term for it, but I like the easiest way I can describe this is I choose to just think of my head solely as a computer. Like, to anyone who says, I can't help something, no, you haven't trained long enough to control something. If you can't help it, you're just being ignorant to the fact that you could fix it. Like, that, you know, how many times have you crossed your legs, closed your eyes, and sat still for 16 hours and figured out you? Because that's what I did for like 4 years. And yeah, I almost ate a Glock a few times, so maybe the coin flip rate ain't that great. But if the alternative is ignorance or me, I'd rather know it and hate myself for knowing it than not be able to see it.
Okay, so by the way it sounds is like by your logic, like so if someone has Tourette's, for example, I'm gonna bring Tourette's into this.
Okay.
Topher, you think that's funny?
I was gonna say something about something like that, but
Yeah,
that's definitely different. I agree with you
no, no,
100%.
that's something that they can't control. But I'm not talking about a
We're
disorder.
talking about like
I think it
the
was
full
important to
grown
make the
adult that
distinction.
says, "Oh, I can't help it if they do this and somebody says this to me. I can't help getting mad at them. I can't help stealing
Yeah,
this. I
Chris
can't
is
help
right,
doing
but
it."
on another level
Those are
too.
the retards. Those are
I
the
just
idiots
thought
that
we
need to
should make
change
it
what they're doing
clear,
and
you
can't. They
know?
just don't want
Yeah,
to.
but at the same time, what you said isn't clear, and I was going to argue that first, but I just want to make it clear because you were like, oh, it's like, do you know what a psychosomatic illness is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna top of my
Okay,
head.
well, Tourette's is in that list. Limps are in that list. Accents are in that list. Hundreds of things that you wouldn't put in that list are in that list. You have psychosomatic injuries. I have them, and Chris has them. Because that's the definition of an accent. It's a thought that you're a certain way. But if you take a
No.
nanosecond you say no, take a nanosecond and undo your accent, you can just speak normally, you
If
can
you okay, I
enunciate.
don't have an accent because I don't have an accent. You
Well,
don't
that's
have an accent. Nobody's really got an accent. Accents are not can't not be considered a psychosomatic illness because they aren't. It's not something that, well, I think this, so I have to do this. It's a very natural learned behavior because this is because of where we grew up and who our parents are. This is how we learn to speak. It's not psychosomatic. Yeah, you can turn it on and turn it off if you want to, but that doesn't make it a psychosomatic illness. That just makes it environmental. This is how you grew
so
up. You know,
someone who
it's
someone
like evolution.
but
You know,
no, because I personally am in the same boots as what you're saying, because I myself can actually turn my accent off. I don't have to say ka or ear, like, or ear. Like, I can say ear and car, and I'm not from the south. I don't say oil, I say oil. Like, but there's people who can't, and not can't like are broken, but can't like tell you they can't. And the ones who truly believe it have a psychosomatic illness. They truly wholeheartedly would die on the fact that they cannot change the way they speak because of what you just said. It's from where they're from, and that's just that. Well, that's just that is your way of saying it can't be fixed. It's not the fact that it can't be fixed, is all I'm saying. And maybe illness is the wrong vernacular. But
yeah, because I understand what you're saying. You're very not wrong.
it's attached to you, and you can
Your
unattach
labels
it.
are a little fucked up.
Yeah,
But
I didn't.
you're absolutely not wrong. It's not an illness by any means, but yes, it can be changed. Now that is where you get into. I don't know as we would call that a psychosomatic illness. I would think that's more along the lines of ignorant, lazy, maybe. Who cares? I really don't give a shit what anybody thinks about the way I talk. Because, I mean, and why would I want to unless I was
Well,
an
how often
actor?
do people think about things like that? I mean, unless you've got some sort of speech impediment, you know, someone from Minnesota that's got an accent that's similar to a Canadian's is not gonna, you know, move somewhere else and immediately be like, okay, well, I need to change my accent. Like, it might come up in conversation once every 6 months with somebody that you've got an accent, but how often do you really think about it? Because,
But you're
you know,
pigeonholing demographics, like actors. I think about them every day. I'm trying to learn accents. Like, I'm literally thinking about my accent every single. That was like why I brought it up. I think about it every day. I bet every actor who ever has to choose a new role, every time you get a new role, you think about an accent. How am I gonna portray this? How am I gonna be this? You know, and If you don't think that that actor after the 24, I mean, back in the day it took longer to film things, but imagine doing just 12 solid months of acting like someone else. The best actors method act, and they don't get out of character when they leave the set. And you know, think about that. Truly being someone else for 12 months straight without ever slipping. And you're telling me that when you leave, that's not a permanent part of you? Because that's the way I make my mind. I understood that concept, and I understood my science, and I said, okay, so I'm just going to call myself Ricky 3, but Ricky 300. So I'm the third. My dad and grandfather, same first, last, middle name, for people who don't know. But like, I joke with, you know, my girl
Is
all
that
the
what that
time.
3 means after your name?
Yeah. But yeah, so I joke, but no, I facilitate personalities. Like, there's personalities that you could call me being an actor that I build for situations. When I get into a fight, the person I am, my facial movements, my body movements, the language I use, everything is trained. The second I get into it, I'm not going to say something threatening. I'm going to be assertive, not aggressive. I'm going to keep my distance. I'm going to retreat. And everything I do is like a little SIM card I just clipped in my neck. Clip, okay, time to fight. I don't want to clip that card in, but if you tell me that I shouldn't be prepared for something that's inevitable, animosity and anger from strangers, like there's billions of people, I don't want to fight, but if you're going to make me, I'm going to win. And so that's my argument. And the same with my daughter. Like, my daughter will know how to unload, load, and fire a Glock by 5. But that's because if she's ever, for any reason, not at my house, I'm going to have trigger locks and them locked and away. Like, that's not, I'm not worried about that with me. But I don't believe ignorance is the path of righteousness. I think every person who says guns are bad and shouldn't have a gun needs to shoot a gun. Period. Like, say they're bad. Cool. Why are we the world's biggest predominant superpower, more or less? Like, the nuclear arsenal's part of it, but nukes don't get you anywhere if you want to live on the earth after.
Guns don't kill people, bullets do.
There you go. And we have more guns than people in America. I'm not saying that's not a problem, but how come you walk down the street and you don't hear gunshots? Unless you live in the neighborhoods that we've been to before. But I'm just saying,
Because there's no point. Because
like, it's just,
if it doesn't need to happen, it doesn't need to happen. More often than not, people don't just pull out a gun and shoot it in a crowded street for no reason.
there's going to be
There's
outliers.
a purpose.
We got to make it harder to get guns. But as long as there are guns, and especially more guns than people, with a statement like that, how can you not expect someone to randomly die? Like, you could have a 9mm on your hip. You walk into the gas station, have a heart attack, and a thug walks up and grabs your Glock. Like, in what world are we going to act like someone couldn't get a gun that belongs to someone else? Like, but if we at least made it so that that's as hard as possible, the statistics will be so low that, eventually society will work itself out. Or blow up. Like, it's ever be. Maybe there's probably a middle area, and we might sit there for a century or a millennia, I don't know. But things 50 years ago were very different. Very different. You know what I mean? Women have only been allowed to vote for, either of you know?
Not off the top of my head. It's been like
No.
50, 60 years.
Just had an anniversary. Like, this year is an anniversary for women's voting rights.
Okay.
Century. Women have only been allowed to vote for 100 years. And in that 100 years, there's still people who lived and knew people who were raised by the century before us, and they don't think women should. I think they're retarded, but, if everything I said went, this world would be a really scary place. So, it's a good thing. But, I mean, shit would be accomplished. But, I don't know, I'm not about to, like, I've lived a cardboard box life and still been happier than people with money. And, like, there was parts of my life when I had endless money. Like, I was, making the best money of my life, and my family was, and, I had acquaintances and side jobs, and, dude, I had so much money it was retarded. It didn't solve my problems. Like, not at all. It didn't make me a better person. It didn't answer the question, should I be just or unjust when no one looks? That's a Socratic, Socrates, and Plato type philosophical question. I'm a philosopher, and that's why I think about these things. But what is justice? What is good over bad? What is What is the difference? And if you defined a difference for me in your own sense, why should you be that when no one can see you? If when you're positive, no one can see you? If it would benefit you to be unjust? And that's a true debate, like from 2,500 years ago, that I listen to on an audiobook like once a week, because I love that part of the Republic. It's a book. It's a 12-hour audiobook. I recommend it to anyone. But like, what if we were to create a civilization like he did, and really try to stop people from being unjust? Like, there's just so many parts of it that are beautiful. Like, he describes what an unjust, you know what I mean, society is, and he basically describes us. And then he builds his own city in words. It's an audiobook, but I mean, in words, he builds his own city, hypothetical city. He said, you know what I mean, artists and musicians and all these people aren't allowed to say things the state don't approve, because if you were to allow to like bad rap music that's a kill, murder, rape, whore, you know, like that stuff, they would ban that. Not allowed. It's not for the benefit of society. Don't need it. And so, I actually have a quote written down on my phone. But what it really comes down to is, so does a ruler need to exert force on citizens? That's what it comes down to. Does it need to? For society to provide us safety, like our government, what do we have to sacrifice? Like, should we all have to fight? Or is there just enough people who do that? That's a question. You know what I mean? Is all knowledge open? Like, freedom of speech isn't penalized, right? No, it totally is.
Yeah.
You're allowed to say whatever you want, but you can be charged after the fact. That's how it works. But, like, say something provocative. Be really provocative. Like right now, record a video and deny the Holocaust. You will be banned from every platform on the entire thing. Now that's an atrocity of free speech. I agree that we need to censor things. But the biggest Socratic question I'm going to drop on you guys this morning is if there's censoring, you're telling me the censorer who's censoring me is infallible and knows more than me? Because what if I'm exposing the dark little pedophile Epstein ring? Or what if I'm Epstein willing to be, you know what I mean, tell the truth, and I'm, you know, the guy's gotta go in there and kill him? Like, there's so many, like, little, like, what in the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, that we can just backpage stuff. You didn't hear about his killer. You didn't hear about, you know what I mean, the rape island for longer than 5 minutes. And if you look it up on Google, it's all backpage.
Rape island.
And that's like that's the whole ethics question again.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and I use the example again, you have a nun and a serial killer. Well, they're both doing what God told them to do, what God wants them to do. He's cleansing the world of sinners. She's living a pious life. Who's right and who's wrong? They're both doing what God told them to.
I don't think they're.
100%.
I mean, on a very basic level, I don't think that. I don't think that anybody has the right to say.
Not really.
Personally.
Yeah, well, that's kind of my point, you know, because what this person says, I mean, that's what we have different presidents through the years. This president says these rules need to apply. This one says, no, we're going to get rid of that. We're going to try this, and this instead, because this is what I think. Again, it goes very, very basically, very root of it. It goes back to the rose-colored glasses thing. Everybody looks at everything differently depending on their mood, time of day, how they were raised, their environment. So no, nobody should be making those decisions. You know, I mean, either ban all speech or just let us talk. If you ban all speech, now we're a communist country.
And I'm not about to start advocating for the opposite of what I just initially brought up, but like, you can't just let us say anything either. Like, the question is just, you can't. Whoever's censoring it is supposedly doing a righteous thing, like hate speech. That's a simple one. What was the intent of what you said? Was it comedic, like Dave Chappelle? Probably insultuous, but
Can we
comedic.
define hate speech before we
Uh,
start talking about hate speech?
I didn't think it needed a definition. You're saying something with the intent to harm someone. Like, you can say something harmful in a joking way that is not lighthearted, very malicious, and you knew saying it would offend someone, but you did not say it in an offensive way. Like, I can say Asians have squinty eyes. That may be a stereotype, and that may be racist.
That's physiological.
And
Is what it is. It's just,
it's
and
what
here
I
we get
see. I'm
into
not being
it's all
racist.
about the delivery.
Yeah, the context is everything.
You can say the same thing.
Dave Chappelle's my metric for all that. Like, he has said the most preposterous shit over the years. You could find some of the old Dave Chappelle show. Holy fucking shit, he was out there. And he was allowed to be. Because it was a skit show. He was Impractical Jokers in a world when, uh, uh, trans people weren't so offended. You know what I mean? Like, everyone could take a joke. If you're not being malicious, like, the big thing with the trans movement is that they're demanding a lot of things to happen, and they're demanding a lot of changes to happen. And I'm all for. I am all for everything until you start saying science isn't okay, and that's what they're now doing. They're saying, oh well, you're allowed to do this, and you're allowed to do this, and just who gets to censor that? And if we don't get to censor that, when people start removing their limbs, that's going to be okay too. None of you have a problem with that. Like, and I get going from a boy to a girl is not a big deal. That's a very, very simple thing. I think we can all understand. That's someone who has gender dysphoria, and they hate themselves as who they are. And so, if this change will make them go from wanting to die to being maybe very happy, if not at least moderately happy about themselves, my hands up. Do it, 100%. But you cannot give that right to anyone under 27 or 25 or 22 unless they've got an entire family, an entire lineage, and an entire life of people advocating that that's really true. Because there's a lot of people, and I don't know my ass from my elbow, but I started reading this book that one of Joe Rogan's guests talked about, and she was a psycho sex therapist, and she knows a lot about a lot. She's a very good episode. You could find it. It was in the last few months, but holy shit, like she went into it, and like the people are letting kids start believing they're a different gender at 5. In groups. So
Well,
there's 6 kids who all think they're a different gender. But when you really
they're
break
not
down,
developed enough physically or mentally or emotionally to make that choice. Period. They don't know what the fuck they are or what they want.
but going back to Dante, and I'll let you say what you want to say, Dante. Going back to what Dante said, though, like, simple thought, and could it be that simple? It couldn't be that simple. It is. Like, when you're that young, like, your rose-colored glass is not 2, it's 1, and you have no thought on it. It's what you see. And so if your 3 friends think that that's what they want, the 4th and the 5th, the odds are none of you are. You all just think you are. And that's because your brain is growing, and your brain grows in whatever way you let it. So if you focus on all general learning, math, science, history, your brain doesn't really fully lean into anything. But if you stop focusing on all the things that you normally intake at that young age and focus on your gender being wrong, your gender is going to be wrong. I can spend this rest of this whole episode talking about how wrong my body is, and the more I look at it and the more I think about it, the deeper I magnifying glass, the more I'm going to be conscious of it. But I don't want to change my gender. Like, I don't have... I think I'm very effeminate or masculine, whichever the one is that you act, like, I'm manly, but
Effeminate.
I have to
be there.
I have girly traits, and I like that. I'm more emotional than I am, I'm sensitive. I'm the blue. You're killing me. And places hairless cat's playing with a matchbox.
So yeah.
Christ. But no, I'm just... Everyone's different, and I advocate for the most open society ever, but you should hear what some of these people say when they become transgender, and then want to go back. Like, what? You should, like, that's a one-off decision. That's like killing yourself and then being like, could have been different. You know?
Any child that feels they're the wrong gender really is just confused. And honestly, and I agree with like the age limit thing. You need to be an adult for multiple reasons and not just 18 because you're still not done growing mentally, emotionally, whatever. Especially the younger ones, they could have seen it on TV. They could have a sibling or a relative that's older and talking about this and whatever, and they're sponges. So a lot of them are going to be minor birds. They're going to want to mimic. They're going to go, I want to do this now because so and so is doing it. And then they're going to grow and they're going to talk to their friends. And if they have a close little group of friends, they're going to all go, oh, this is so cool because so and so is getting so much attention and there's the movement. And oh, look at this fanfare. And yay, flashing lights, bright colors. We want this. So, yeah, no. I agree completely. Age limit.
43 minutes. Gotcha. No, I completely agree. It's just crazy, you know. I'm not trying to box shot if you got stuff you want to say, Dante, either. We all know. I have a post-it note, or I had a post-it note that said, Richard, don't talk forever.
Hey, man, I mean, you know,
Like, I have a daughter. Just think about this. You don't have kids. What would you do if they became trans? Just like answer in amongst your answer. Think.
And yet you just interrupted.
What would I do if I had a child and they were trans?
No, wanted to be like. So my daughter's 2. You know, she's by 5.
It depends on what age they were.
Let's go with the worst. 5. At 5 years old, they meet boys and girls at the school who say this because this is what society's talking about, and they think it's provocative, and so they come home and they want to now get all new clothes. They're not comfortable in the clothes that they're currently wearing, even if they're unisex. They were tethered to her personality as a different gender. I'm talking about her daughter becoming a man, but neither here nor there. She could just want to become a gender and have no gender. And A and gender, there's no space between those. That's one of the terms. Like that's a gender is genderless. You're not a boy or a girl. That's a choice, I guess.
So, I mean, if I'm not a parent, man, these kinds
No,
of decisions,
I don't have the answers either, dude. I am a parent,
but
and I
like,
fuck. What do you want me to do?
if I had a child, let's say I had a son who was 5 years old and came home from school one day and he was like, Daddy, I really want, let's say like a Barbie or something like that. Like, let's just say it just starts out that way, right? It's just something he wants. Okay. I probably would be fine with that. I probably would be fine going as far as like, if he wants to, dress up in a little like dress for Halloween or whatever, like he wants to go, like let's say he wants to go trick or treating as like a girl character from some cartoon he likes. Okay, well that might be a little bit strange, but at the end of the day, it's a 5-year-old, and so I don't know as of right now what, if any, long-term psychological effects that could have. So, knowing what I know now, which is almost nothing, I don't think I would have a problem with it personally as a father, because all I would want was for my child to be happy. Now, would I be worried about them getting bullied and things like that? Yeah. And that's something that I would also take into account.
It's really hard.
That's where you end up with an internal dilemma.
It's kind of like, when I was in high school, like I used to, wear ridiculous amounts of eyeliner. I'm talking like, complete raccoon eyes, like Alice Cooper type shit, right? I had like black fingernails. Never took my hood off. Like I was like the emo kid. I was that dude, right? And like my parents used to tell me, like I would wake up and my dad would be like, "You look like a drag queen," you know. And so I've had a little bit of experience personally with these kinds of feelings, like just in the way of like I was being told like, "You're a guy, you're a man, you can't do this."
Well,
But I wanted to
we
do it.
gravitate towards things we're told not to. So to society, so that's another hook in the or a chink in the chain. One of the acceptable times you can say that word, a chink in the chain. So
I'm glad you pointed that out because I totally missed it.
yeah, it's a good one.
I wouldn't have gone there either, man.
Well,
Yeah.
you know,
Bad, Ricky.
chains have chinks.
Yeah, slap your own hand. I can't use it.
I also love Chinese food. No correlation, just a semicolon in between.
It's just a random thought that popped into Ricky's head.
Yeah,
You suck, man. Now I want stir fry. We got a fridge full of leftovers.
Nah,
We love you, China.
Extortionist. Create
Don't
a
say anything bad about
coronavirus.
China because then we won't be allowed there, just like Zed.
I don't want to
They
go
already
there.
sent us Corona. What
Yeah,
the hell?
they made Corona. Fuck are you talking about? They didn't send it. They were like, we're gonna make this, and those Americans
Did
are
we
gonna
talked
die.
about the beans, right? We talked about how they started sending beans.
No, that's Mexico, not China.
Death beans.
No,
Death
it's
beans.
China. We talked about how China's like mailing beans to people. Like people getting envelopes full of beans.
Yeah, no, they're
Why?
poisoned. They're genetically engineered to kill Americans. They got a few of us in World War II. They bred us with their kind, and now they're training beans to kill us. We're gonna grow them. They're gonna jack in the beanstalk, and then the crazy people are gonna crawl down from the clouds and murder us all, and crawl back up and disappear without a trace. It's all from the clouds. Clouds and the beans.
Didn't tell me I was gonna need my waders this morning.
Oh shit, we're on Zoom. I wanted to share my screen. Just 'cause there's this stupid fucking meme that I really
Yeah,
really
we
wanted
can.
to get you guys' reaction on.
Yeah. Let me give you
Why
authority.
can't you share your screen? There's a share screen button on there.
Yeah, because I'm disabled. He's got to give me
Oh,
access.
I'm more special.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't want to fuck up the recording.
Fine.
No, let's. I don't know. Spotlight. I could spotlight your video, but you just don't even have the option to share.
I mean, the button's there. It just doesn't let me without permission.
Okay, we're playing Mother May I now.
Alright, try to share now. See if it works.
I'm
going
good.
for an hour.